Welcome to Loving God and Loving Life. We're in Revelation chapter 8, where we find the theme, being John seeing desolations poured out during the seventh seal. So we're beginning to see God's judgment. We talked about that earlier. We're going to see a fair amount of the wrath of God. And if you have experienced real evil, you understand that. And you should, because it has an interesting effect of making you angry. It does. But I want you to notice something here in this verse. I'm just going to read, actually, just notice the end part of the third verse here. This angel is coming with gold incense, and he's mixing, the scripture says, that he mixes this incense. He's offering this to God. This angel, the picture he's given, he's mixing this incense, was mixed with the prayers of God's people as an offering on the gold altar. Now, these people are suffering. They're experiencing some hard time. They're experiencing, even some of them, probably most of them, have experienced some evil, have been perpetrated against them. The point John is making here is they were tempted to think that their prayers weren't effective. You ever feel that way? You ever think, my prayers aren't being answered. Suffering is continuing. Now, here's the truth. God had a plan. He was allowing this for a reason, and there were things he was doing in the earth. We can look back in history and say, the church prevailed. We've got a phrase that we say today, that the church really is built on the blood of the martyrs. It's so true. That was the fire that fanned the whole thing. We see it. But here's John was digging in, kind of getting underneath their suffering, getting underneath their discouragement, trying to lift them up, saying, gang, wait a minute, your prayers are so important. Don't quit praying. God, the angels are taking that. They're mixing that creates an offering to God. That's a fragrance to God. Even in the hardest of hard things, keep praying. Even expressing the pain of it to God. Interestingly enough, what this picture is, there's 1,000 varieties of prayer and worship, and this variety happens to be their pain was kind of coming up in prayer. It was being mixed, and it was being poured out then in judgment on the earth. God was using that as justification to squash evil. Well, there's a picture you don't see often. You ever think of your prayers being used like that? Yeah. Maybe the pain didn't immediately leave your life. We like to look at these things in microcosm. It's coming to God. God is just. God is the judge. Our prayers are more important than we think. That's the real point of this chapter. Keep praying. Keep pouring out your heart to God. When you have pain, have you ever expressed your pain to God? You should. Absolutely, you should. Pour it out. Pour your heart out to God, no matter what you're experiencing. It's a lot more important than we realize. Here's a prayer we need to pray every day. God, today, send us one person today to share your love with. Friends, let's never forget it. It's loving God that leads us to a life that we love to live.